So, thank you for being here today at this press conference. Let me start by saying that I have not, up to the time of this press conference, received a response from the President to my letter. And that letter indicated that I was prepared to meet continuously and on a daily basis, if necessary, to resolve the issue of the chairman or the chairperson of GCOM. As you know, the court said that that appointment has to be made on a consensual basis. And so I would have hoped that the President would have addressed this matter with the urgency that it requires. And especially in light of the misleading statement from his Attorney General about my reluctance to meet. And I think the whole country now knows that that was a lie because they were privy to the letter that the President sent to me last week indicating that he would wish to meet after the consequential order would have been issued on Monday. That did not happen, but the Attorney General misled the court. And so the country knows that I'm willing to engage and engage on a continuous basis to address this matter. Now, for quite a while, I'll come back to that issue in a moment, but for quite a while now, we have allowed the President to claim lack of knowledge or remain silent on the daily acts of corruption in his government. He just ignores what is so stark to the entire population, what is so evident to all of us, that this is the most corrupt government in our entire history. And so a minister gets $9,000 deposit in his account, questions are asked, and no answer. Until now, we are still waiting answers from the minister as to when he reimbursed Bharrat, show us evidence, and secondly, how did the company got his private bank account? We have a minister who gives out contracts in our own ministries. President remains silent on that. And the Auditor General says 600 million missing from the Durban Power Project. He's silent on that. I can enumerate all the things that you hear about, the want of entry, scandal at customs, etc. So I think this has to stop. And today I want to show that this is not about the other agencies. This is about the presidency itself. And that the corruption emanates from his office, a lot of it. And so I'm hoping that he will be forced to respond to these issues. And if he has to answer whether he knows what is being done in his name, whether he agrees to the issue, and if he does agree to what I will reveal, he needs to inform the public as to the reasons why his office is doing this, because transparency is vital for us, and the President is placed on this pedestal as though he is not corrupt. And so he needs to give answers if I give him the benefit of the doubt, if he gives us answers on these issues. So I want to read a section of the Guyana Lands and Survey Commission Act of 1999. And this act says the functions of the commission, I'll go to the functions, part 241G of the act. The act says one of the functions of the commission is to receive and evaluate offers to purchase or let public lands and to issue for and on behalf of the President grants, leases, and permits to occupy such lands in accordance with any law regulating the administration and disposition of public lands. So lands and survey, according to this act, either lets or sells land on behalf of and for the President. They act on his behalf. So that's clearly established by the act. Today, I want to show how people in his office that are working now in the Ministry of the Presidency have been linked to the wanton, almost obscene acts of gathering land, especially in the period after the no confidence motion, to the detriment not just of people, but the whole of Guyana. So I will go to the names. I'm mentioning names. Mr. Marlon Bristol, who is the head of the Project Management Office at the Ministry of the Presidency. Mr. Marlon Bristol got 1 acre at Mucka in February 2019. He got 12 acres in Linden in June 2019. And if you look at it, I have the maps here. This would be it here. You would see the area in Linden, 12.6 acres. This is known as Dalawala. Dalawala was the area where we were going to build the industrial estate for Linden and where potentially a deep water facility could be built. So he got 12.6 acres there, leased in the prime area of Dalawala, where a potential deep water facility or a shore-based facility, very lucrative shore-based facility, could go. And then in February 2019, he got 80 acres at Bohemia. Now this is Bohemia here. This is, guess where Bohemia is? Bohemia is where the Deepwater Harbor in Berbice will go. That we talk about building a deepwater harbor there, and where shore-based facilities can go, lucrative shore-based facilities. So he got 80 acres in that prime location. If you see the tract running all the way to the foreshore, going there. This is someone who is working in the office of the President now, who has gotten an acre at Mucka, but 12 acres in Linden in the prime area where it's going to, if they just sell it now, it would be a massive set of money because of the oil and gas companies, etc. here. And 80 acres in Berbice where the government was supposed to build the Deepwater Harbor. So that's Mr. Marlon Bristol. Another member of staff, Miss NDB Schurz, I think, her husband is Charles Series. And she is in the Department of the Environment at the Ministry of the Presidency. So Mr. Series got, along with others, 1,297.1 acres in the Canchi Creek last year. That's in Canchi Creek. Then on file number 6211124, 112 acres at Bohemia, the same place where the Deepwater Harbor would go, and that was recently, just recently, he got that. So you see here, this is the part here for him, next to Marlon Bristol. These are two staffers at the Ministry of the Presidency. And next to each other, they have the land where the Deepwater Harbor should go in Berbice, combined nearly 200 acres. Then on another 5,000 acres, I'm getting the details of that. And then at Lilendale on file 413-34222, a plot of land. I'm still to get the details about the size. So 4 bits of land running into thousands of acres, but look at where it's going. Strategically, just recently, that area there. That's staff number 2 at the Ministry of the Presidency. Number 3, and Sarah was established in the Ministry of the Presidency and still reports to the Ministry of the Presidency. So you recall some time back I said Mr. Eric Phillips had gotten thousands of acres of land. And this was his comment in Stabroek News on February 22nd of 2019. I'd read his letter to the press, Eric Phillips' letter to the press. It has been brought to my attention by several individuals that Mr. Jagdeo, in addressing the death threats to Mr. Trevor Benn, I did not issue any death threat to Trevor Benn, I just said I will expose the corruption in lands and surveys. They boldly proclaimed that I have received 3,000 acres of land. I've never applied for 3,000 acres of land and I've never received 3,000 acres of land. Of course, Mr. Jagdeo has given away to several of his friends 60,000 acres of land. And I can show these documents. So I'm reading his old letter so he could show the country where that is. So it's a falsehood. I do not intend to reply to Jagdeo's continuous abuse of the media and the truth, but I decided for 2 simple reasons. First, his supporters always believe his lies and libel, even though he's a known liar. And second, more importantly, the media has a responsibility to verify facts to ask Jagdeo for proof when he makes these statements. Instead, the media has become a willing conspirator against the truth in the weekly press conferences held by Jagdeo. Isn't there some professional code of ethics? That's Eric Phillips, 22nd of February. Well, I'm going to give you the file numbers now. So he asked for evidence. I'm going to give you the file number. File number 321132/1604, 1,000 acres. This is in the Essequibo River, and April 2019, he got this. And file 3312317, another 1,000 acres in the Demerara River. Now, look, the maps are here. Look, his name is there. You see it, circle the name, Eric Phillips. So this is in the ministry, he works for the Ministry of the Presidency too, through Sarah. Then Mr. Rettimeyer also filed 411412/522B, 10 acres of land, and then another acre at Mucka. And that was recently issued too. So we have established already that 3 agencies, Department of Environment, the PMO, and SARA, all reporting to the president through the Mr. Harmon or whoever else, have been beneficiaries to large tracts of land in strategic locations in the last few months alone. And when the president is responsible for the allocation of land, according to the Act, and Lands and Survey operates on behalf of the president. So we continue here. So consistent with the theme, and you will see it, that everywhere there are strategic locations now for possibility of shore-based facility, etc. There is a mad rush to give out the lands. So if you go there, you will see at best foreshore, so they've given out 50 acres on the foreshore. So people at West Dem, you've lost 50 acres of your foreshore. It's gone. And 20 acres each for in the river. So we have now given out 40 acres in the Demerara River. This is not on the land, in the river itself. That is from the harbor bridge almost all the way to the mouth of the river, or on the other bank of the river, the west bank of the river. We have given out to a few individuals, so I'm going to go through who they are. But the river is gone practically. The river, we have given out 40 acres. Now I will say we because, but I mean they have. The president has, through Lands and Survey, given out 40 acres in the river and another 50 acres on the best foreshore. Now, let me go through who the persons are. So first of all, the file number for Schoonard foreshore is 332232/3. I'm telling you these numbers so you can go and request from Lands and Survey. If they don't disappear all of the documents, you can buy them. And so that's one. The next one at Good Fortune foreshore, it is file 3322421/3. And then 3 under file, that's at Best foreshore, file 332231/38. So, as I said before, I told you. So one name we see appearing everywhere. So it's the Great Wall Incorporated is the company that got this. And there is a name that appears everywhere. If you look at it, the person who attended this survey recently, and that name is Soratu Phillips. He is the person that is common through all of the 3 allocations here, because he attended this survey on behalf of the company. And it's given out on behalf of 2 companies, Great Wall Inc. and another one. We checked Great Wall Inc. and Soratu Phillips is one of the directors there. So who is Soratu Phillips? Soratu Phillips is a person that was engaged in the controversial parking meter issue. But more recently, when Irfan Ali asked in Parliament about the number of gold export licenses that were issued, because we heard that ministers, and Trotman said in an article in Starbuck News, no government minister was a beneficiary. But we were talking about beneficial occupation and beneficial use and linkages to ministers. So in that article, that's in Starbuck News, you can go, when Trotman reported to the Parliament, he said that Gold Bar Development and Consulting Inc., which is headed by Sean Hopkinson, Maurice Hopkinson, and Soratu Phillips, is the newest licensed dealer, having been granted a license this year. That's last year. So now Soratu Phillips, along with his partner Sean Hopkinson, has gotten a gold license last year to export gold. Suddenly, this here. Now, I don't know if you have your ear to the ground, but I'm going to say something and you can check it yourself. It's rumored that Mr. Harmon lives in Sean Hopkinson's house. So it seems as though there is a connection to all of this that leads right back to the Ministry of the Presidency and to the allocation of these lands. Seems it leads right back to this. And that's why I had to go through the link. And you can do this yourselves, because that's how you do it when you determine beneficial occupation and beneficial allocations. So I've just given you an area, and this is a prime area here. Everybody, this was the price, this is gone. So let me make it clear though. I'll come back to that in a moment. Let me make a note before I forget it. Yes, so these are some of the issues I wanted to talk about in relation to the link between the presidency, etc. Now there are others. There are others too. In the Pomeroon River, an ex-PNC MP, his family got 2,900 acres on file 222211/4. Then the ex-MP himself got on file 2122215, 1,200 acres. And now on another file that's just going up for approval as another 6,400 acres, 6,400 acres. So this family alone will get over 10,000 acres of land in the Pomeroon. And then there are two others that we are looking at that were given out to 1,400 acres and 1,083 acres. So in a matter of a few months, they would have given out in the Pomeroon to 3 individuals more land that the PPP gave out in 23 years in the Pomeroon. In a matter of months, to 3 individuals. And I will take these and go and walk the Pomeroon and show people what's going on. We'll do it like we will in Berbice with all of this. This is the Pomeroon, what's going on in another part of our country. Mr. Christopher Jones, on file 413421/4, we are trying to get the details of it, but it's Aubrey Barker Road. Some leases there. So some of the lands on Aubrey Barker Road might be gone to him. And and then something that is very, very, very worrying, and I hope that this does not influence the individual if the government decided to give him the land to influence his decisions in relation to elections. But Keith Lowenfield, in February of last year, along with others, with Series and others, was part of the 1,297 acres. And just in June of this year, this was the month of June, he got 216 acres on file 012211/599 at Millie's Hideout. And then 2 acres at Maka. That's just this month. And so this is a worrying one too, very worrying. And it shows a pattern of Office of the President's deep involvement, lands and survey, deep involvement in just not giving out lands to people. But ordinary people wouldn't get this. The land that Eric Phillips alone got can do 10,000 house lots. Since he is, I don't see him fighting for ordinary Afro-Guyanese when their lands are being taken away in Region 5, or when they're thrown off the street they can't sell, and he is a rights activist. Fights for himself, lies about it, they're securing the assets. Just a few people, ordinary people not benefiting from this. Imagine this alone, that they haven't produced a single new house lot in 4 years, not one. They're repossessed and given out back. But connected people to the hierarchy of the PNC are getting all the land. And they have, so I'm just mentioning a few names here because we have additional files that I'll come back to, because we have Liliendal and Mocha and some other places that we have to come back to. That land is being given out. And NISIL has just started the same thing now. They've started a series of surveys that before we know it, all the sugar lands would be gone, handed out. They've started their surveys too. So I have some information on that, and subsequently I'll share that with you. But we're putting them on notice that anything done will be treated as illegal. And if they believe that they're going to approach oil companies to sell this, any oil company that treats with them because of these stolen assets. Imagine the people from Sarah are part of the stealing of assets. That's how I see it. And they're supposed to recover stolen assets. Anyone who deals with them will not enjoy a good relationship with the PPP too. Will not enjoy a good relationship because this is illegally done. Even after the no confidence motion, when the president's powers have been diminished right down to the holding of elections, he has no other power excepting for the powers to do everything consistent with holding elections. That's what the Constitution says. There's no power outside, and he's busy, through his authority, getting his minions to allocate lands. So that I made it clear about how we will address these matters. Now, if you think this is the end of the story, NISIL is another horror story that we'll reveal soon. Horror story. But also, the Geology and Mines Commission, there have been tens of thousands of acres of land given out in GGMC that are given out similarly to some of these individuals. Some of the same names that I mentioned today are also getting land there through the GGMC arrangement. So this is a large-scale rape after the no confidence motion, particularly of the resources of the country. Large scale. And as I said before, there are lots of other information I have. I have them all in a huge pile. They've been deposited here. People are coming forward. Now let me deal with this issue of whistleblowers, etc. I heard that the government are hunting, consistent with the suggestion of David Hines, that they must set up a commission of inquiry to hunt PPP moles, that they are hunting people in the ministries and unfairly dismissing some of them. Let me say to those people who have been unfairly dismissed or sanctioned or accused, you come to us, we will file lawsuits against not the government, against the individuals. So if Ben or Stacia or anyone else wants to discriminate against you based on speculation, then you just come to our office and we'll go after them personally too. We'll file cases against them for personally, not just the agency. So don't be intimidated by the people who were on a witch hunt. And secondly, I just wanted to say this to the public servants, lands and surveys, and all these agencies. Keep the records. We don't have anything against the public servants. I've heard about the mood in lands and survey, the discrimination, the hiding of files, the commissioner taking and picking and accelerating all of these things. And the staff there must know that we will not tolerate this. And if you get disciplined or fired, etc., you will get your jobs back. Just ensure that you keep records, all of the staff there. They've been hit with a spate of resignation recently because of the shenanigans there. And this goes for all the agencies, the public servants. And if you're asked to do anything illegal, don't do it. You know, they're not going to be there to defend. They're not going to be there to defend. And keep records of any illegal action that the government wishes to or asks you to do. So I will, as I said before, I have a ton of additional stuff on the land issue, and we'll address that at a subsequent time. We'd reveal more. God. Now on the GRA itself, I noticed Godfrey Stacia issued a long missive and said Jagdeo is parasite basically, and that's not his word, but I'm paraphrasing. Jagdeo is a parasite and stuff like that. Well, I gave him a chance, the Commissioner General, for 2 weeks to address the issue technically. He has chosen the political route. And so if he wants to become the politician and defend this government rather than being the technical staff, well, he's welcome to the game. So let's talk about Stacia. In his long release, go back and read the release, and he does not say until today, in his big thing about how he worked transparently and everything else, he said everything was done in a fair and consistent manner. Fair and consistent doesn't mean transparent. It's been consistently handing out the vehicles to government officials and to politicians, the luxury vehicles, without going to tender. So let's deal with the 2 vehicles that are exposed. He then said Jagdeo has it wrong because the date we seized them was not accurate, and we seized them before we sold them, and the system at GRA would not allow backdating. And even if we consider he is right on that, but he avoided the elephant in the room. What process did he use to dispose of those 2 vehicles? Because they were not auctioned. So how did the person, a PNC individual, who he refuses to name, know that these 2 vehicles were there to be sold? How did they get it sold to them, and what was the price? Or to that individual? What was the price he sold the vehicles at? Those are the critical questions that he did not answer. Secondly, he spoke about all the rules that he's been following, and why not tell us or invite in an independent auditor who will tell us how many want of entry vehicles were not auctioned, and the luxury vehicles, and how many, who they went to, and how we disposed them at what price. Because that's not his information. That's for the public to know. This is a transparency thing. What's so wrong with publishing how you sold the vehicles from customs and on what price you got for it? Since when that's state secret? Since when that is state secret, that you have to hide that? It's nonsense. It's hiding. And so we'll never know until there's an audit about the number of luxury vehicles that came in. that they took off the want of entry list and handed over to individuals, because in spite of his long missive, he has not dealt with that. He has not told us about the 5,000 bottles of alcohol too. How did APNU get it, or who got it, and what price he sold it at to them for? It was handed over. That's $25 million. Not a word about that. It should be easy to tell us about this if you're so transparent. And then there are two additional things. So the Commissioner General should come clean on the marijuana scandal that they discovered and that they're trying to cover up. Now, in marijuana, there's a fuel scandal there. Apparently, the son of an ex-PNC MP was sent there, and he's been printing receipts. And it runs into multiple millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars that have been stolen. And so they know of it, but you haven't heard anything about it in the public domain, because I guess it's a politician's, an ex-politician's son. And so he should come clean on the marijuana scandal that's taking place now. And then I heard in the last month, a lot of people have been going in to settle taxes. So I want to know, because they believe that they can get a good deal now, and consistent with everybody trying to make a little hustle now before things change here. They are settling taxes for business places. So we need to know, let him release a list of this. This is outside of the amnesty period. I thought you should not be settling taxes anymore, but just enforcement. Because there was an amnesty, and there are still quite a few unanswered questions about the DDL matter. So the GRA and Stacia, they are not going to be transparent. And if he wants to get into the politics, I'd welcome him to the game. But we still need answers. We still need answers for those matters. I was intrigued by the protesters who came to my office, 7 and 10, one day 7, the other 10. And so in an interview with, I think, Starbuck News, Sister Panda said that she is here, I'm paraphrasing here, to protest my office because she wants Granger to hold a commission of inquiry. And she's protesting my office so that Granger would hold the commission of inquiry on the killing in the PVP period. And she said, the second protest here, and I'm not here for any confrontation. Well, Sister Panda, we don't want a confrontation too. And let me say to you, we've been calling for this commission of inquiry ourselves. You're misdirected. Don't come and protest me if you want to have Granger hold a commission of inquiry. Should have protested him in the 4 years. Now he doesn't have the powers to do that anymore, because the no confidence motion has stripped him of all the powers to do that. But you should have protested the last 4 years. You should have joined us when we called for a full-fledged commission of inquiry of all the killings, from the time the people escaped, the bandits escaped, to the massacres. We call for that, and you will see who is complicit. And you must know, Sister Penda, that the reason they didn't do that is because they have a ton of skeletons in their cupboard, and it will shock you about who was complicit with the criminals. It will shock you, Sister Penda. So don't please, I appreciate you saying you don't want a confrontation here in the office, and we're not looking for that too. But please redirect your protests. Please go in front of Trotman's place and ask him how the 2 boys were killed. and go in front of the office of the president and ask the president about that. And you may want to add about the recent police scandal too, and the link to criminals. And the president's, thing about the unbribable, he's just appointed unbribable people. That's why he took so long to appoint. They was taking time because he wanted to appoint unbribable people. And so I've noticed the impunity that is derived from closeness to the president. I saw an article in Kaichor News, and I saw where a family member of someone was speaking about quoting why some people act in that way. They claim closeness to the president. President needs to disassociate himself from that. But more importantly, this is his scandal. And if it is true, an unbribable set of people that he appointed personally could have been engaged in running criminals to kill ordinary people. That is precisely what is staring us in the face. And so Sister Pender may want to look at that too and protest that. So I believe we should have a full-fledged inquiry into everyone's death. The coroner's inquest bill was passed. They rushed it through. Until now, why didn't we have a coroner's inquest into a whole range of things, crummy-wing everyone? We don't have a problem with that because I believe people must get justice. They must have a fair way of doing this. Not to get a Trotman father to do a commission of inquiry. He's biased. But get fair people, unbiased people, to look at all the inquest and then see if there is any reason there to move forward, and then let charges be laid against anyone who's been engaged in criminality. The PP will stand on the side of law and order. So that's important for us. Then on Jordan, on the budget circular. On the 18th of June, the CCJ ruled that this government is basically the cabinet should resign, and that you have to have elections in 3 months. That's what the effect of making the no confidence motion valid is. And then Jordan on the 21st of June sends out a budget circular. Then he wants to prepare budget and present it by November 25th. I think he's going a little loose in the head from that public statement about war break. This is not the Jordan I know. And so the prospect of losing office seems to be unhinging him. But clearly this is a sign of being unhinged. A sign of you can, who does this sort of thing? Who does this sort of thing? But this is what we see manifested every single day. It's either could be, forget the decisions of the court, like some of them said, it's our own, we're going along with our own business, forget the Constitution, etc. Or he just seriously not all here. So what we've been saying about the Green State strategy, I see someone saying that the renewable targets are unrealistic. We've been saying not only the Green State targets, the renewable energy targets are unrealistic. We've been saying that all the time. Now the foreign consultant came in and said that. And I see a big attention being paid to that. But we've been saying that it's a useless document. Useless. It has no plan. It's a statement of principles. It's just general ideas put together, none of which are new. And it's not an economic plan. You can't move the country forward on that basis. But even a plan to address energy, period, forgetting renewable energy, so that we don't have blackouts, etc., there is not forthcoming. And I gather they're just buying power at very exorbitant costs. So that is what I have to say. Now on the matter with the president, so I come back to this issue. I'm hoping to meet with the president, particularly on this matter. And we're hoping that he would have had the 18 names, and that he is prepared to say if any of the 18 names are acceptable. And we've started the process of soliciting new names just in case. And we are prepared to explore bringing names from outside of Guyana, because as far as we look, you can submit names from the Commonwealth, from people from the Commonwealth. So we are prepared to engage, as I said, on a one-on-one and continuously until we resolve this matter. And that's one, and I'm very happy now that the chairman at GCOM has resigned. Well, not resigned, he left office because the CCJ resigned him. So I saw Mr. Ramjatan saying, as typical, that Jagdeo can't dump 6 names on the president. Mr. Ramjatan, I don't intend to dump 6 names on the president. Wake up or sober up. I'm glad you says it requires consensus, because that is precisely what their ruling says from the from the CCJ, and what we've been saying all along for a year and a half. That's what we've been saying, that it requires consensus in the way forward. That's what the provision was about, the change in the Constitution, that it moved from unilateralism to a consensual mechanism. Now you discover that. We've been saying this all along. And so that's how we intend to approach the matter. But I'm pleased that the AFC said that they hope it could be done within 2 weeks. But they still insist on the erroneous thing. And I see the media is now a habit to quote liberally what the sections of the law mandate, how it mandates house-to-house visit. And it's wrong. It's the government's interpretation of that house-to-house registration is mandatory before an election. It's not. In between the period 2011 to 2015, we had an election, and we did not have house-to-house registration. We did not. It's not mandatory. That's nonsense, and the practice is there. The same election that Granger came to power on was on a list that was developed through the continuous registration and the claims and objections, not a house-to-house registration. So that's the practice for you. How can you get away from that now or argue differently? And once again, let's reiterate the fallacy of this whole matter. If you look at the GCOM ad last year itself, the press release, GCOM ad says July 5th, 2018, these registration exercises commence on May 21st, 2018, in an effort to ensure that all eligible persons are afforded unlimited opportunities to be included on the National Register of Registrants database, and ensuring that GCOM is in a state of preparedness which would enable it to respond to calls for elections in a timely manner. That was July last year. It says any person who will be 14 years and over by the 31st of October 2018 is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more is eligible for registration. What more do you need? This is from GCOM itself last year. This was their press release, the public notice. We have pointed out 100 times that it's a fake news, fallacy, a lie told by the president, that young people who, from the last elections, who would have attained the age of 18 from 2015 are not on the list. It's fake, it's false, that they will not be able to get their names on the list, because you would have the claims and objection period. Anybody can go and get their name on the list in that period, who are not on the list. that they can change correct any error. They can have their names transferred in that period, the claims and objection period. They can object to people who shouldn't be on the list. That's how you cleanse the list before elections. And in any case, the last valid list was up to April 30th. An election should have been held up to by March 21st. So you just need to go and update the last valid list, and you can do it easily through claims and objection. This thing about misleading people on house-to-house registration and that you will be disenfranchised if they don't have it, it's all a ploy to hang on so they can continue to rape and pillage the country. That's what they're doing. And ordinary people, APNU supporters, PPP supporters, AFC supporters, who are not in this tiny cabal, are seeing their lives deteriorate whilst this cabal enriches itself. Tiny cabal, and you've seen evidence of it today. Thank you. Yes. Sure.
You spoke a lot about the GRA Commission confrontation over the years, and you pointed out his absence of being, or his lack of being forthcoming on issues of transparency. Would a PPP government be willing to work with such a commissioner?
We don't have anything. If we find that he's acted professionally, and that's why the first instance, when I was asked the question, if I thought Stacia was involved, I said that I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Let him make it public. Tell us what's going on. Instead of doing that, answering the question, he's gone political. And that's not the only political part in it about Jagdeo, return and everything else. Now he knows I didn't file return after all these years, 4 years. Suddenly, you can't criticize them, they come after you personally. But I'm not afraid of Stacia or APNU. They can come do whatever they want. So that is why. If he remain technical and we don't have anything adverse, we work with anybody. We don't know not a single public servant who has acted professionally in these years, who are not complicit in corrupt act, who has anything to worry about a PPP government, not a single one of them. They don't have to worry about their job, their promotion, their well-being, anything. Not a single one. Because many of them are now seeing, they're facing the excesses. They're uncomfortable. These are people who have publicly guarded these lands all these years in lands and survey. And they see, they held it tight, all of these lands. And we were supposed to give out the whole of Guyana. I don't know how they're finding so much land to give out now, because remember, by the time PPP left, there's nothing to give out. Trotman said, it's all gone. So these are people who held it tight, and now they see what's happening there. It offends them. They're decent people. These are APNU people, but they're decent people. They will not stand for this. There's no, PPP doesn't have a monopoly on decency. Everybody, Guyanese of every race and every religion and every political party, you have decent people in all the parties, and they're offended. They come to me, they talk to me, they may never support the PPP, but they're offended.
On the issue of the budget preparations, your advice to public servants who will be called from the participating process?
Advice, just ignore them. Ignore the thing. Again, this is, if it gets you, if you're not worried about getting into trouble, just put on the forms a Ramjatan expression. HYA. But I wouldn't advise them to do that. It might get them into trouble. HYA, the comment. He loves to say that. But I think they should just go through the perfunctory exercise. It's not the public servants we got to go after, because they'll be pressured. And we should go after the director of the Office of the Budget for sending out a circular like this, and the ST, the Treasury Secretary.
So would there be consequences for this sort of action from the government?
For
those who initiated the process, would there be consequences?
they would have to say why they're not opposed to this issue, why they're not, why they keep sending out a circular of that nature, unless they're hoping it would be helpful to us, that at a public level, if the government changes. But let me tell them clearly that this budget, we're not starting with a budget circular like this. The first PPP government will immediately start from zero. Every expenditure made by this government will be reviewed, and we'll cut the excesses, the ministerial travel, the rental of buildings, the dietary, a whole range. We believe we can save a good 20, 30 billion and pass it on back to people through lower taxes and restoration of the benefits like the 10,000 grant and stuff. So we're not going to work with Jordan's framework. We're not going to work with Jordan's framework for no budget. In any case, Jordan was a pen pusher, never was involved in policy matters. All the years I've been Minister of Finance and President, Jordan was never, and that was a substantial years, from 93 to 2011. Jordan was never part, and even after, because I was party to all the policy discussions after I left office on the budget. And in none of those years, 20 odd years, was Jordan in any of the discussions where policy was determined. But the budget is not just the numbers, it's a policy making. He never had that sort of experience. And you see it reflected now in his crappy budgets.
And finally, sir, would the PPP government move to recover the lands you spoke about which were awarded to?
And we would review every single thing, and if the process is not followed, and it's not transparent, and we can trace corruption, yes. The answer is yes.
Kim Walking, Kaisho News. Sir, yesterday, Mr. Rambutan, in saying that you shouldn't dump 6 names on the president, he drew attention to a suggestion made by the CCJ in its ruling on Patterson's appointment, that instead of you developing the list on your own, perhaps you can deliberate with the president on 6 names. Are you open to discussing?
When I go, that's why I'm hoping the first meeting would set the ground rules. And so clearly I'm the initiator of the names. But then I don't have a problem sitting with the president and going through the names. I don't have a problem of that nature. So yes, I'm all for consensual type of approach.
It's been revealed recently that all oil companies, they received more blocks than the law was on the Petroleum Act. And what we found is that more than 3 months ago, the time had come for the relinquishment provisions to kick in for the Kanji block. Are you at all concerned about this government's ability to implement the law in that regard?
This is a concern that I'd expressed about the weakening of the relinquishment provision in the Exxon Mobil Act, and they should implement, not just keep the relinquishment provision, but implement it rigidly, because it forces the oil company not to mess around. A lot of them can't raise the money, so that's where the experience comes in and the ability to drill. If you can't go out there and drill, that's how you find oil, and you want to just play the markets by making money, by flipping blocks, etc., on the financial side, then there is a time when the reckoning comes, when you have to start giving up, and aggressively so. And so those blocks, and a significant amount of the blocks, come back to the government for use or relocation. And they should implement that. And that is a huge safeguard against those who just want to acquire the blocks and sit on them, hoping they can work out a deal or sell them off in the future. The relinquishment provisions are vital.
Okay, it's also been shown that for money that oil companies give to a country for training personnel, what Guyana receives is very...
We said that already, 300,000, right? 300,000. It's something that we were critical of. When the contract was revealed, I had a press conference upstairs at Freedom House, and we spoke about this. And if you go back to those comments, I was extremely critical of the 300,000 grant. That's like a pittance, nothing, practically. If, you know, one individual at ExxonMobil could probably be making more money than the 300,000 a year. A single individual could make more money than that. And we have a 300,000 as a training grant for the whole, for the whole country.
Okay, and finally, in his writing in the document that he sent to the media, Mr. Stacia, at the end of it, he said something about you hiding behind presidential immunity and that you should honor your tax obligation.
I dealt with that already. Yes, I was speaking about that already. Suddenly he realizes that this is so after I exposed the corruption that he possibly would be involved in. I don't know. You ask him. Ask him directly.
Okay.
And ask him.
Sir, we see a commissioner on the GCOM, Vincent Alexander, maintaining, he said on to yesterday, he told Gary Sander that house to house will begin in July. This seems to be way...
I mean, this is the problem, that they insist that GCOM is independent, yet the president and all of his ministers and the protesters and the PNC saying house-to-house registration or no elections. So they're telling GCOM is independent, GCOM can make a decision how to cleanse the list. But we're telling you, you're independent, but you have to listen to us, house-to-house registration. And Vincent Alexander is an extension of Congress Place. So what do you expect? He is bullying, they're bullying the staff in there. Now, you don't have a functioning commission. You don't have the chairman is not there. So, and these matters are still before the court. So we will see it as an extreme thing, an extreme act to undermine the CCJ if they were to proceed now. They have to await the ruling of the CCJ. So if the CCJ says 3 months elections have to be held consistent with the Constitution, you have to be prepared.
Is there a possibility of the CCJ imposing anything on the government to not go ahead with budget during that time when...
No, we're not doing that. That is Jordan's madness. Yeah, we know he's think time. The CCJ's time about the budget and all of that, Jordan, and his budget circular. The CCJ has more important things to address.
Have you received a response from the top cop and the ERC about the letters written about 2 weeks ago?
I don't think you have received. Oh, okay. Huh? Oh, to the individuals. Okay, all right. So I'll check. So check the individuals who wrote on behalf.
Sir, is this a concern of yours for such a critical position to be open in a time when we can be a little unease in the country?
I don't. The president should really be answering these questions. They have executive authority. It looks like the opposition has to answer all these questions. Not that I have a problem with you posing it, but they should really give clarity. The president is hiding from the matter. The minister says, oh, we're looking into it. They have absolutely no concern. This is a major issue about the credibility of the force. And at a senior level, the president personally made those appointments, personally chose those people. He made some statements about how the police force would be managed. This is about credibility that could undermine public confidence. You can't wash your hands of it and deal with it like in a routine way. This is not like a constable getting into trouble. You're talking about the leadership of the police force. But that is what we have in this area, like we've had in every other area. In oil and gas, in every other area. There's no leadership in our country. There's no leadership.
You noted that a lot that has been given away are at strategic places. Are you still having meetings with the oil companies? Are you?
I will, what we will do, we'll make sure that every oil company knows about this and our position on it and the international community. So I will have my people brief the international community about all of this, these acts of corruption, so that they can write in their reports what's going on now, because the EITI and all of this, I wonder what they will see in Transparency International. They just keep, I don't understand the issue with Transparency International and these NGOs. Nothing practically, they just run after one issue. That is not, when the whole country is being hollowed out, they would not even take a stand. And so but we'll keep the international community briefed.
Something about money that has been transferred to Minister Groves' children. A few days later, we saw some firings in the Public Service Department. Do you have any concerns at all now about what can be the repercussions of these?
Well, that is why I said to people that if you have any adverse thing, and I made it clear that none of the information about Broom's children came from the people who were fired. But they go crazy because they're worried about the corruption being exposed, so they run around. The staff call me from some of the ministries about how ministers behave and stuff. They don't know what's going on. They go and criticize the staff at Lands and Survey. They get a lecture about who's a PPP mole and all of that. So none of those people. That's why they unfairly fired all of those people, all of the people. And then they try to make some extraneous thing. Now I hear there's a commission of inquiry to look into something that, that Dr. Anthony's daughter got a scholarship. That girl was a Guyana scholar. She was a Guyana scholar. The eligibility for this scholarship is not under question, never was under question for anything else. In this case, how is it that somebody gets these scholarships? Because heading a school, I see that being peddled, is not how many people top schools all around the country. That's not the criterion for a scholarship funded by the government. So they try to switch it and then name Carberry, a PNC man, to do a commission of inquiry. And guess what? I can tell you about Carberry's report. I can give you, I'll write it for him, and he blames somebody else. Like we said about Trotman report. And as we predicted, the same thing. And the COI into the killing of the threats against the president, we predicted what will happen there too, that it was designed, that COI, to destroy the prospects of all of the people who were eligible for promotion in the police. So that's why I started off. Anytime you find that anybody in the government does this, we will file cases against them in a personal capacity because they're exceeding jurisdiction. They're firing on suspicion.
Are you getting around yet to appointing a prime ministerial candidate?
We'll get around to it.
Is there a timeline?
No, we have not imposed a timeline as yet. Let's get the CCJ rule. We're ready to launch our campaign. We're getting ready for everything. We'll be ready. We'll be ready.
Before work started on the Chedijana airport, the idea...
Oh, you still Kaicho News? Oh, God. You exonerate this government you write those stories? It's you every day. It's like the PPP is to be blamed for that airport now. Anyhow, go on. Sorry.
Right. The idea was that this airport would be a regional hub for Africa and so on. But it seems that vital in-transit facilities are allowed in the airport. I'm not even sure whether it was included in the original design. So what do you think of a hub not having in-transit?
There would have been in-transit facility. Let's see if Patterson would release that now. So, but he was not releasing the modified airport design.
I've asked.
So, well, I know you've asked, but that's what you should be going. Why is there a secret? If this was such a corrupt project, you tell us what you found that was corrupt, and two, how you modified it to fix the corruption. What they did is to modify it to enhance corruption. And there are several things were removed. So if we didn't, I noticed one time we didn't have an office under the PPP design, but that's not true. I verified there were offices. There would have been offices, but that was in the kite show. Now we don't have an in transit. But why don't you go after what we had in the document that they took out? We had a new airport, a new terminal building. They took the new terminal building out and changed it to a rehabilitation of the old building. Does that not bother you?
Okay,
No, let me go on. So you can, hopefully this would appear in your stories, you know. They took the apron. The apron should have accommodated at least 8 aircraft standing at one time. That's been reduced. The number of air bridges, which has implication for the size of the airport, because if you have to have 8 standing aircrafts, that means it's a long, long area. All of that's been changed, and the Patterson is just quiet about it. And so that will be inquired into too.
So what you're saying is definitely the in-transit facilities were there in the original design?
Yes, I'm saying so he's asking me definitely. I want you to ask Patterson definitely how did he remove the new building and the aprons and stuff like that. That is the whole sole purpose of making it look like, oh, the PPP didn't put everything in it. Even if we didn't put everything in it, my point is that they have reduced what we put in it so substantially that it runs in, I believe we're getting at least $30 million less. At least $30 million less than what we paid for. At least 30 million, and that's US dollars because of the apron, the terminal. These are the big ticket items. So new terminal building, new apron, 8 standing bridges. These are the big, and the runway. Those were the big ticket items. Whether you got a AC here or not and stuff like that, that's not the big ticket item.
So on the in-transit facilities, you're not sure whether it was
All right. The PPP didn't put the in-transit facility, but let me hear what you put about Patterson. You put that. Put that, and let me see what you do with Patterson. Now, we've been watching carefully this story.
You mentioned the possibility of using the 18 previous names for the UGP chair. Are these persons willing to accept it?
The thing is that well, first of all, I need to talk to the president, right, about them. So if the president finds someone still that he on the list, then I can put them on a list, get their consent, and then move it back to him.
But have you talked to
No, I've spoken to some of them, and some are willing to. I haven't spoken to all of them as yet.
Mr. Jagdeo,
Yesterday at Mr. President Ramthan's press conference.
President Ramthan.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
He noted,
God help us. Oh, President Ramthan.
he noted that.
Let me contemplate migrating. Sorry.
He noted that an investigation will be done in the suspension of Deputy Alves. He said that the police, the OPRs, going to be leading that investigation, are concerned and should an independent probe be established.
We called for that. We called for that last week, I think. Last week we called for that, an independent probe, and this followed several articles in the Starbuck News, and also people coming to this office. And so we called for an independent probe. Now he's talking about the OPR. And on a matter of this nature, this is where the president needs to, because he is directly implicated in this, because he he chose these people, he should move more swiftly to address the matter. It seems as though everything is, like when Soku engaged in corruption, it is, oh, we're looking into it, there'll be a study. From what I gather, that the audit report disappeared. The audit report into Soku transgressions disappeared from the files. I'm still hoping they have other copies. So that is what Ramjatan said. But over time, we'd look into that. Over time, we'd look into this OPR. This is the credibility of organizations. If Soku was supposed to lead on the fight against corruption, against drug dealers, money launderers, your political opponents even, and you can't have the agency with any credibility, it reflects badly on him. But this is typical of Ramjatan. Almost everything he touches is a failure. But no president. No president. Thank you.